a lot of stuff that I'm doing in these videos may not be true for you wherever you are, whatever state you're in or country or whatever. They might not be true for you because different inspectors call for different things. But really, the point of these videos is to show you what we do out here in the field. So no matter where you go or what you do, it might be a little bit different, but it all works the same.
You just let it come to you.
And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, because eventually I want to get paid off of this shit. But anyways, we have a back-to-back panel today. And what a back-to-back means is that you have a main breaker panel inside the house, and on the outside it's going to be just a meter. And the difference between a main lug and a main breaker is the service wire. So this is just going to go right here on the exterior wall, and we're just going to run our service wires right through straight to the meter, and you'll have a main breaker button right here, and we'll show you that later on. So anyways, the first thing you want to do when you have your panel, you want to make sure that you cut these guidelines out right here, because you're going to need this space later on to cover up the panel when you're finished, and it's easier to cut it while the panel's still in there. Doesn't have to be perfect. We'll use this as a cover later on. Okay. So here is our panel that we're going to be putting up today, and as you can see, it has a main breaker attached to it. And the first thing you want to do is know the meter that you're going to be putting in on the other side. And the reason for this being is we need to know which 2-inch hole to take out, which I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so on the other side of the house, we're going to take this 2-inch out, and the reason we want to know which 2-inch hole to take out is because when we go to screw that to the wall, we don't want to send any screws through the panel. So if I was to take this side out, that means my meter is going to sit on the other side right here. The thing is, we don't want to send any screws going through this panel because you might hit this bus bar or some kind of other thing in here. So we're going to take this 2-inch out, so we have all this space that we can drill through the wall with. So knowing that, we can just go ahead and bust that out.
I know.
Okay, so finding out where we want to put our panel, we know it's going to be on this exterior wall somewhere, and we have to stay away from any gas line. So we know that the panel width is 14.5 inches, so we have to find a bay that's around the area. So this bay is 14.5 inches wide, which is fine for the panel. And then you want to look up and make sure that there's no, like, a lot of nails or anything right up in here, because you're going to have to drill a bunch of holes, and you want to make sure that nothing's in your way. So we're going to start taking this block out. Okay, so let's go on the other side. feel for the nails you just knocked out right here. Then you just want to like beat these nails in a little bit so they don't get in the way. And then just see, like right here we got some little nails poking through. Okay. So the height of the panel doesn't really matter as long as the meter's up high enough, and you don't want it to be too low. So So now that we have that, this is a gas house. So this is a gas house. So I'm not gonna have very much big wire in here. I'm gonna have one big wire coming to the bottom for the AC unit, and then two more big wires coming into the top. So I only need to take out 2 3/4 wherever I want, and then we want to take out enough 1/2 inch for the 14/2 and 12/2 that's gonna go in here. So you want to make sure that you're not using a nice flat head screwdriver like your plate driver or anything, because it's going to damage it. All right, so once you got all the 1/2 inch out, you want to take 2 of these 3/4 out. This was kind of a bitch. So I just do 1 3/4 on both sides, just so I keep one big breaker on the left side, one big breaker on the right side, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, once we got those taken out, we're gonna have a place where we take out the screw holes that are gonna hold up the panel. So like we got one right here, one right there, and 2 more on the other side. So we're gonna pop those out. The hammer was a bitch. Take it upside down. I'm gonna have a couple wires coming into the bottom. And then like I said, we're gonna have a 3/4 coming in the bottom too. Maybe you make sure you get all of it.
All of what?
Instead of like the zoom in. Okay, so once you got all your knockouts out that you're gonna need, you can go ahead and get your screws and pin it up. going to use 4 of these 5/16 hex heads.
No.
Okay. Now, when we put this up, we come around and look at this. You want to make sure that your hole outside is bigger than this because it's obviously not going to go through right because it's going to fit perfect. So we got to make this a little bigger. Okay. So also when you push it up, you want to look back here at these holes and make sure they're sitting flush with that OSB. Okay, now that we got it pinned, so when we bring our home runs in here, after it's all said and done, we're gonna need to strap the wires within 12 inch of the top plate hole, and we're gonna need to strap the wires within 12 inch from the top of this panel. So this is 14.5. So I'm just going to cut 2 blocks that are 14.5 and put them up there. And the reason you do this before you run the wire, if you already run your wire, these things are almost impossible to get behind the wire. It's kind of a pain in the ass, so might as well just do it in the beginning. So once you got those blocks up, go ahead and find your 2 long nails and put one on each side right here. And we're going to use this for whenever we go to cut in the panel. after the wire's been ran. Okay, before we put our Romex connectors in, this is the perfect time to go ahead and drill out the panel. And you can see that I'm drilling really shallow because this is a prefabricated truss right here, and you don't want to drill through that, so you can keep this as shallow as possible anyways, because we're going to go in here with a 16-inch or 18-inch nail guard, and it's going to protect all the wires, and then it's also going to use to mend the 2x4s that we're busting up by putting so many holes in it. So I'm using a 3/4 bit, and with the 3/4 hole, you can only really fit 2 wires per hole. That like 2 14-2s or 2 12-2s per hole. Anything more than that, then it starts getting really tight and hard to push it through. Okay, now that we got that done, you want to go in here and just knock all of this sawdust and everything down. And the reason we do the drilling before we put the Romex connectors in here, because if I've already put these Romex connectors in, then all those wood shavings are going to fall right in the middle, and it's just kind of going to clog the hole, and it's not going to be as easy to put the wires through. Ow! Fuck, that hurt. Okay, so I have my half inch grommets and my 3/4 grommets that I'm going to be using, and we can go ahead and pop those in now. God damn, that hurt.
You okay?
Yeah.
You bleeding? Like, they didn't give a fuck. But anyways, yeah. So now that we got all this done, we can go ahead and start putting wire in there, and it's ready to go. And I usually have this done before I start running the wire. So we've already gone through laying out the house. We've already done low boxing, we've already done high boxing, and this is usually the last thing that I want to have done before I start running wire. And then that way everything just falls into place, nothing's in the way, and yeah. Episode 4, bitch.